Hi, this is your host Abdul Bhartiya and welcome to another episode of Mainframe Matters. And we are here at Open Mainframe Summit in Philadelphia, and we have with us once again John Mertic, Director of Program Management at the Linux Foundation. John, it's good to have you on the show.
Likewise, it's great talking with you and great having you here in Philadelphia.
Yeah. First of all, is this the first in-person mainframe summit after a long time?
It is. We had a great aspiration to be in person in 2020, and this little pandemic got in the way of it. So this is the first time, and for many of the people in this audience, it's the first time that they've seen each other in a few years. So it's a really cool opportunity.
And you folks made a lot of announcements also. One of the most I have been hearing about it since the last year, that we are going to get a box, we are going to get a bigger box. I always make fun with Elizabeth, she's with IBM now, that that you have a mainframe in your basement, right? So to talk about the big news.
Yeah, so this has been a long time coming, and it's the one thing that every time I talk with somebody in this space, I talk to them about open source, I talk with open source projects, and the number one problem they say they have is, how can we get access to hardware? And we've been very fortunate over the years. We've had some great vendors and partners that have helped us kind of use space here and there, but that wasn't sustainable, and we knew that. Thankfully, we've been looking at some different options over the years, and Broadcom stepped forward and had some hardware that they'd be willing to donate to the project. And we were able to kind of work all of that out. We have it right now transported. It's sitting in the Marist College in Poughkeepsie, their data center, all nicely wrapped up, all nicely in the box, ready for us to get going. And we're just really excited about this. This is going to be an amazing opportunity, not just for our projects, but for the entire open source community, because we want this as a resource that any open source project out there that wants to support ZOS or ZLinux, this is a box they can use. This is infrastructure that they can use.
So talk a bit about what kind of access people will get, who will get access to it?
So, out of the gate, we're focusing on our hosted projects because they're in the desperate need, and we want to kind of consolidate a lot of those existing resources. Over time, any main project maintainer, so think of, Kubernetes, Node.js, Rust, any of those communities that want to target this, we're going to let them have access on here for build, dev, test, full CI integration. It ties really well into even the security narrative. I was talking with David Wheeler with the OpenSSF Foundation, and he said, one of the big things to help improve the security posture for these projects is to have testing on multiple different platforms. This is an opportunity. We can do this on the mainframe side of things. So our intention is really to open this up. We'll have a governance around it, just like any project or any endeavor we have in here, and really make it so that projects can come to us and say, hey, we need some infrastructure, and we'll work with them and get it up and going.
Right. Can you also talk about why does the community need access to mainframe? I do remember what Linus Torvalds used to say about ARM and that. If we don't have the platform, how are we going to write something against it? How are we going to test against? Because we need a dev environment. So talk about the importance of this announcement.
It's important because there's nowhere else this is happening. That's it. Like anytime we would even go around and say, hey, is there somebody who can give us space on a mainframe? These boxes are disconnected from the internet, behind a corporate firewall, layers back. And these boxes are expensive too. There's, just the cost of keeping up and running the data centers and just all of that. It goes into the hundreds of thousands of dollars very easily. So there's been no one out there ever to try to fund such a community effort in a way that these projects could do this. Even going back to the OSDL days, if you want to turn back the clock, they even struggled really, and they had some early partnerships with Marist for a few areas. This here is the first sustainable way to do this. And we have a great set of corporate members that are part of the project that are helping kick in, and we have some other potential areas of funding, and we're able to make this as just a resource for the future. And what it'll do is it will help these open source projects be more used on the mainframe because they have an environment to test on. This is I keep harping on it, but this is like the biggest problem they all come to me with is like, we would love to support mainframe. We'd love to have this work on ZOS. Where can we try it out on? And I'm like, I'm trying, but now we have that answer, and that is absolutely huge in this industry. And frankly, this mainframe industry has never seen anything like this before.
Excellent. Now let's get out of the this announcement zone and talk about something else. With the larger open mainframe community. Talk a bit about since you are here and we are doing it in person. Give us a kind of update. Some of the major milestones, because there are a lot of working groups, there are a lot of projects within Open Mainframe Project. So talk a bit about how you have seen some of those made progress over time.
I think we're starting to see our project communities mature quite a bit. The Zowe community, it's going on 4 years now, and over the last year, it had its V2 LTS release earlier this year, and we're starting to see the maturity in that project translate to customer and end user usage. There was a recent area mainframe survey that was done, and the 2021 version of it had somewhere, I think, around 10% of customers using Zowe in some sort of production use, and probably another 10 or so looking at it in the next year. The 2020 version of it had 19% of mainframe customers using Zowe, and 50% said they're looking at it within the next year. So that's a sign that this project's being trusted. And we also see that because we see more vendors investing in it. We have 70 Zowe conformant vendor offerings out there from 6 different vendors. So now we have a vendor ecosystem that is building itself out, which is also giving the customers a sense of choice, and they're giving a sense of trust in this. And you've been around enough of these open source communities, when you see those pieces coming in there, all of a sudden the investments, you see the adoption, and it all comes around. And then we're starting to see it with customers. We had a great interview that you did with Rune Christensen of Bank Data a few weeks ago, which is a company publicly going out there and saying, Zowe is a part of our strategy. We use this to do delivery. That's amazing. That's the gold there, and that's the validation for the communities, which is really what we're all about seeing. So we're really starting to see that get moving quite a bit. We're starting to see centers of thought leadership coming into this project. The COBOL Working Group has done some really nice work over the last couple of years, and they're going to be partnering with LF Research to build out really some of the first research in COBOL in a long time that will help enterprises get a better sense of how is it being used? What is the real life usage like? What should I be thinking about as an enterprise in this? Which I think is going to be hugely valuable on the market, and is something when we're here next year, we can talk a lot about. And there's some great opportunities for companies if they want to get involved. And then I think one of the more interesting ones, which I've heard so many rumblings about here, is this mainframe modernization working group that is coming together, which is, as I've talked with everyone, and the focus really here is how can we better redefine what that means to have it be more aligned with really how enterprises think about it. It's not that mainframe or conversation. It's not the how do I get stuff off mainframe. It's mainframe and it's a part of my enterprise. I mean, I've said so many times before that forward-thinking enterprises see their hybrid IT as a competitive advantage. They don't see it as the cost of doing business. And having a working group here will help get a lot of those definitions crystallized, will help build the thought leadership, will help build the references for these customers to think about it. And I think one of the things that we can do very uniquely at the Open Mainframe Project, which is a unique thing that we're able to do at the Linux Foundation, is we can bring all of these parties together to collaborate on what this means. We can bring all of the folks in the mainframe space. We can bring the SIs, we can bring the customers, we can bring the cloud vendors, we can bring the folks that might be looking to move people off mainframes, all together in a room to discuss this and come with some alignment. And it's a really unique opportunity that I'm excited to see where that all leads us to.
I cover Open Mainframe community, and you folks, interestingly do a lot of things, right? A lot of people will think, oh, it's just a mainframe, that's all it is. But one of the topic is not only of interest, and I saw a lot of discussion today also was diversity, equity, and
Yes.
inclusion. So talk a bit about, I mean, our audience, because the interviews we have done, they are aware of some of the work, but just, tell us, what work you folks are doing and why does it matter?
The work that is being done is at so many different levels. It's everything from our mentorship program, which is bringing more and more students and more interest. We had over 500 students apply for our mentorship program this year, and they're making huge impacts and huge interest across the board. It's looking at that next generation that's coming in, and how can we make this a community and an industry that is welcome, that is opening, that makes them feel like they have a space to participate in. And we spend so much time of trying to be intentional in our projects, just setting a lot of the base stuff, code of conduct, and just openness and things like that, and we put together and best practices. But we're also trying to be forward out there of putting Mainframe as a spot of saying this is a diverse, inclusive, and welcoming area. Partnerships with making our strong community stronger. The efforts that we're trying to do here of bringing a lot of diverse speakers. And I gotta say, like, the speakers in diversity here are phenomenal. And they're looking at it from so many different angles, not just the traditional gender and race and sexual orientation, but neurodiversity, age, all of these sorts of things. I believe firmly that you get better outcomes with a diverse audience, and we are trying to push so much of that and help influence and provide the place where this can happen. And I'm just blown away by the speakers. Like, I sat in the diversity luncheon and I wanted to ask questions, but I was just so blown away at these speakers. And I'm like, wow, amazing people, amazing thoughts. And we're just seeing so much happening in here. And the importance is, as this community continues to grow, it's a community that's been around for decades. Our thought of sustainability is, how can this continue on for decades to come? And the way you do this is by building a diverse community that can help get there. And we see that over and over in open source. You see this in so many projects. I mean, you've interviewed all these people, you know what it is. And I'm just thrilled at how we're seeing it come together here.
If I ask you, as you said earlier, that this is that kind of first time a lot of mainframers are seeing each other in person. If I ask you, what do you see is the the biggest takeaway from this conference? When you go back, or folks go back, that's what they will take with them.
I would hope that they take away sort of that networking, community building. As you come to an event like this, there's a lot of learning you're going to have. There's great sessions, great talks. Our program committee did an amazing job pulling that together. But what I've seen here, and as I observe, I see people sitting down and chatting with one another. We brought games here. There's checkers and Jenga, and I think there's cornhole somewhere as well. And we did that intentionally because we wanted to really prompt people to get together and just start conversing with one another and building ideas. Because what I've seen out of events is that is one of the most rewarding things as you walk away, is like, I didn't know that. I've met this person. I have a cool new project idea. I have something I want to do with this project. I have a new initiative idea I want to do. And what I would hope is people would walk away from this event and say, wow, this is an area that has sparked innovation and has sparked new ideas and has sparked new collaborations. And that they're thinking, boy, next year, I'm going to have a whole new set of them sparked as well. So that's really what I hope people walk away with.
I have been interviewing a lot of folks virtually, and then, oh, Derek, you're so tall. Oh, you're almost. So when you meet in person, the chemistry, the bonding, the trust.
Yes.
So next time when you even work remotely, you trust that person.
Yes. Those barriers just come down when you see these people in person. You just realize they're humans just like you, and you just learn to engage with them, and just they learn to appreciate you, and it all of a sudden just builds so much up.
John, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talk about some of the major kind of course milestones, and biggest is to have a mainframe in your basement now so that folks can use it.
Don't tell my wife. I mean, she's gonna go down there and look and wonder why our electric bill's through the roof.
So that was really great. We have been talking about it forever, so finally that moment is there.
Yes.
I would really love to have the community to talk about it when it is the switches turn on next year in 2023.
Absolutely. I would love these project communities to talk about it and just say the impact that it's making. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.